What's up, everybody? So it is wintertime here in Indiana, end of January, and we got a pretty cold few days here. Barely making it into the teens, and single digits overnight last night, and single digits right now. I think it's about 10. Although my hand holding this tripod with the camera with no glove on it says otherwise. It may be colder, but pretty cold temperatures. So I wanted to get out because it's beautiful out. Not really a cloud in the sky, and obviously not too many people out doing this. But wanted to go over the gear that I use to hike and backpack in these sort of temperatures and stay completely comfortable. All right, so this is all the gear right here that I would bring for what I'd say is a serious winter trip. This is my deep winter, I guess you'd call it, at least here for Indiana, loadout. It's not really set up for heavy snow. We don't get a lot of that here in Indiana. 5-6 inches maybe. Usually it's just a dusting. So places where you get more snow, more ice, obviously different things would be you need to bring. Beefier tents, and some traction devices for your feet. I don't really need any of that, especially for this. So this loadout is for up down to 0 with no real snow and stuff like that. So my pack for this type of situation, I just used my REI Flash 55 pack. 55 liters for me with my gear is plenty for. I could probably fit. There's a day's worth of food in here just for the sake of filming. I could probably fit 2 to 3 days worth of food in here and be okay. We'll go ahead and take these out. So Nalgene bottles, wintertime, it's gonna get below freezing. I always use Nalgene bottles for that. If it's gonna stay over freezing, then I'll just carry smart water bottles. Obviously they're lighter, but these in wintertime, if they freeze, they're pretty tough. You could beat them on a log to try to break the ice up. It's harder for the big wide mouth to freeze over, so you can actually still get your water out. And then if you store them in your pack upside down, it'll freeze up here and it won't freeze down there. The other reason you bring these in the wintertime, before you go to bed, fill these with boiling water. It will act like a little furnace. Shove it down in your sleeping bag, make sure it's secure. If you're too worried about it, put it in a gallon Ziploc bag so it's not gonna leak everywhere. But put it in your sleeping bag with you, put it up under your armpit, put it between your legs, and it'll heat you up. It really does work. It's pretty cool. So I carry a 1 liter one and then a 1.5 liter one just for extra water carrying, and that's usually enough for me. On this shoulder strap, I've got my Garmin InReach, and it's the Explorer Plus model. The 2 hip belt pockets, honestly the only thing I have in here right now is my liner gloves, just because I almost forgot them, and that's just where they ended up. They would have ended up in the pack. And normally in the hip belt pockets, one pocket I have like my keys, some snacks, headlamp, if I'm gonna be hiking all day, but I'm not, so that stuff's inside here. But that's what would go in there. On the sides, took the water bottle out of here. So this side, I've just got the poles for my tent. So the tent that I use a lot is the REI Quarter Dome SL1. So yes, it's a 3-season tent. Yes, in this sort of situation, if I wanted to use a 1-person tent, I would bring this tent. So at least for here, I can use a 3-season tent. Yes, I have to make sure my insulation inside is warm enough to handle it being slightly drafty. I've never had a problem with it, so it's always worked for me. If I knew I was going out and I was gonna get snowed on, not that I've never been snowed on in this tent, and it held up fine, but serious snow or more exposure and wind, I would bring my MSR 2-man tent. It's just got a stiffer, more elaborate pole structure. It's still a 3-season tent, but I have ridden out some ridiculous storms in that tent, and it's got a little more solid fabric on the inside, so it'll block the drafts better. I would bring that. But for this, that's the 10 I brought. So I'm gonna put these liner gloves on right now though, because my hands are cold. When it's this cold, I bring pretty much a complete change of clothes. Everything from my head, from my beanie, all the way down to my socks. So that includes gloves. So for hiking, I just have some fleece. I don't even know where I got them. I think Menards. Some fleece gloves that have like the soft shell material on the outside to block the wind. And that's what I would hike in. When I get to camp, setting up camp and everything, I'd still wear these. They're gonna get damp that way, but I know then I've got fresh gloves in my pack that I can switch to once camp's set up. So I'm not going anywhere, I'm not doing anything else, so I just put these ones on, but I would have those. Let me set this down. So like I said, as far as the clothing I'd wear, my beanie is just a thin little alpaca wool beanie from Appalachian Mountain Gear. So it handles moisture really well. It's pretty thin, so it's breathable, but it does a good job of keeping my head warm. A wool buff. I use a buff all year long, but when it gets into wintertime, I switch to a wool one. Pull it up over your face. I mean, right now, sitting here, my beard is trying to freeze. So being able to pull this up over your face and hike like this keeps you warm for the most part, but I'm trying to keep it down so I can talk so you can understand me. As far as the clothes I'm wearing, so let me move this. My shoes, I don't normally wear boots at all, but these are just a pair of Vask. I think they're the Breeze GTX. There's probably new models. I've had these for 7 or 8 years. They're Gore-Tex. I really only wear boots when it's like this. If it's gonna be below freezing the whole time, I know the whole time I'm out it's forecasted to be below freezing, then I'll switch to boots. If it's gonna get above freezing throughout the day, I would much rather wear my trail runners. Normally I'm wearing the Ultra Lone Peaks. I think I have the 4.5s right now. But when it's this cold, the last thing you want is to get your shoes wet and your feet wet and then come to camp knowing they're never gonna warm up. I don't wanna do that. So I'll switch to boots. And I just have a pair of Darn Tough wool socks, just one pair for hiking, and that's it for my feet. As far as pants, I ain't taking my clothes off because, well, I'm in a public park and it's kind of cold, but I just have a mid-weight pair of long underwear pants because it is so cold. When it's gonna stay mid-teens or lower even while you're hiking, I'll wear the mid-weight. Usually I would just wear lightweight ones, but in this I did the midweight ones, and I'm pretty happy I did. And then just a thin pair of regular nylon hiking pants. These are just convertible ones. Obviously I'm not going to take the legs off. They're just the ones I had. I don't even know where I got them. They're a little more elastic than some others, so they're comfortable. Again, usually I'm hiking in shorts. If it's going to spend a lot of time below 45 while I'm hiking, I'll probably start to switch to pants. But if it's gonna stay at least in the mid 40s during the day or up while I'm moving, I'll wear shorts. I may put my thin base layer pants on. I can put my rain pants on over them, but that's usually what I would wear. Wintertime, different story. But that's it for the legs. Up top, let's take some of this stuff off. You can, on the outside, I just have the Frog Togs rain jacket. I've spent money on rain jackets. They all wet out. I've worn Arc'teryx shells. I had the Outdoor Research Helium 2 jacket. It's probably one of my favorite jackets ever. I've had it for 4 years. It finally, on the Appalachian Trail last year, started to just wet out, and just it's seen a lot of action. So I had bought one of these as just a backup, keep in the car rain jacket. I started using it, and it's lighter weight than even that helium jacket, and it works very well. Blocks out wind, protects against rain, and it's $25, and that includes pants, which are useless. Don't ever count on those pants for anything. I don't care what anybody tells you. The crotch will rip out of them immediately. They're pointless. So I don't use the pants, but the jacket works really well. And then after a season of use, if it gets torn up, which I'm not easy on gear, and I don't have any tears in it, but I don't purposely go hiking through, terrible areas wearing it either. If it gets torn up, it's $20, so who cares? So I have that on, and then underneath that, I have just a fleece, grid stop fleece, little quarter zip pullover. It's got a hood on it. It's got a pretty good hood on it. I have this from like Old Navy for $25. It's just a thin grid stop fleece layer. And then underneath that, I've got a Smart Wool. I think this is a 250 weight half zip shirt. I can find the zipper. And underneath that, I just have a thin, lightweight, long sleeve base layer shirt. It's polyester. So for me, hiking base layers, I like to hike in the polyester, touching my skin at least. I just personally don't like the way wool feels against my skin, especially if it gets damp and sweaty. I know it still insulates, and that's fine. I just don't like the way it feels if it's wet. I just feel like it still holds moisture. Ooh, I gotta put these gloves back on. Goodness. Now that I'm sitting, I'm getting cold, and I want to start digging into this pack and get some of my warmer stuff out. But I feel like it holds moisture against me, and I don't like that, especially if it's going to get cold out. So my base layers, especially for this kind of stuff in the pack, are different. I'll use wool for that, and that's one thing. Once I'm stopped and I'm not moving, then I'm happy with wool. But moving around, sweating, I don't really like it. Some people love it. Personal preference. Polyester's cheaper, so there's that. Okay. That's what I'd hike in. So we got that covered. Let's get into the pack. So in the top pocket here, in the brain, so on the Flash 55, it's waterproof. The material of the top pouch is waterproof, and they call it their rain shield pocket. And it's got a big cover over the zipper. But let's undo this. Up here, I just keep, so here's my the outer layer of my gloves. So these are REI gloves, these are the liner gloves, and then these are the outer that's got a wind stopper, and they're water resistant outer cover, and they're insulated as well. So I'll throw those on over these. I lose dexterity, so I'm not gonna put them on now, but for just sitting around, that keeps my hands pretty warm. I don't like mittens. I feel like I lose all dexterity there. But if you're gonna spend a lot of time camping in 0 and sub-zero temperatures, I think mittens technically are better for that. But this works for me. Then up here, I've also got it's just a Patagonia. It's a wool beanie. So once I'm done moving around, doing everything, and I'm just sitting, I'll take the alpaca hat off and put this one on. It's slightly warmer, or I'll throw it on over the top of the other one, which I think I'll do right now because my head is getting a little chilly. And that'll help keep my head quite a bit warmer. And then I've also got a fleece balaclava in there also. Put it on, covers your head, covers up here. I can do the same thing with the buff, but this is just thicker. So after hiking all day, normally I try not to put this on until I go to sleep. And I'll sleep in this, but that way I can use the buff to wipe the snot and everything out of my beard, as gross as that is. And this stays cleaner. I mean, I breathe in it all night. It'll frost up, but that's just part of it. So that's it in the top pocket. On the outside here, so this is the one modification. So the one gripe I'd have about this pack, and a lot of people have the same gripe, is the stretchy mesh pocket. It's got a huge stretchy mesh pocket, which is nice, but the way it connects, like I added this little carabiner. The way it connects is this yellow loop connects to this plastic toggle. It comes off a lot, especially if you've got a lot in here. So it actually kind of restricts the amount you can put in here because that'll always pop off. So I just have a little micro carabiner, which can be useful I'll use it for hanging a bear bag and all that stuff. But this is where it lives. So that way I can really fill up this pocket. So in here, and so it's just my Anker. This is the 20,000 milliamp charger. So for charging the phone that I'm recording on, my Apple Watch, whatever other electronics, this is plenty. I took this out, like I said, on the 7-day trip. That's why I bought the 20,000 milliamp. For 7 days, it held a charge, and every night I charged my phone, and every other night I charged my watch. Might have been the other way around. I don't remember. Either way, it lasted the whole time. Even that 7th day, when I woke up in the morning, it had charged everything, and I think it was finally dead. So I have the 20,000. Yeah, you can buy smaller ones, but if you're gonna do filming and stuff like that, it's good to have. And then all the cables for my watch, my phone, and for charging it are all in here in a Ziploc bag. Rain pants. So the rain pants, I use just the REI brand. I don't remember the exact brand. If I can find it, I'll put it on the screen somewhere. But they're just the REI brand rain pants. Like I said, I don't like the Frogg Toggs rain pants. They're useless. But I don't see a need in spending hundreds of dollars on rain pants either. So these were pretty inexpensive. And they do the job. I'll take these pretty much on every single trip, and I can use them most of the time I use them as a windbreaker. I think I've hiked in them in rain maybe twice, but you're gonna sweat then, so everything gets wet anyway. Normally, I just put them on as a windbreaker, whether it's for something like this or it's cold. I could throw them on over these pants and retain a little bit of heat. Or if it is one of those days where it's in the 40s, 50s, and I'm just cold getting going to start the day, I can throw these on, and after usually an hour, I'm warmed up, strip them off, and I'm just hiking in shorts. So I always take them. They zip most of the way up the side, so they're easy to get on over your shoes. But I like them. I bring them every time. This is just the footprint for the Quarter Dome SL1. So with the footprint and stuff like this, when there's clearly no bugs to worry about, the inner mesh for the Quarter Dome SL1 is literally all mesh except for maybe like a 3-inch bathtub floor. So not really going to do anything to protect you from drafts with stuff like this. So a lot of times I'll just use the footprint, and you can just put the poles in and put the Rainfly over it and just not even put up the inner tent. There's no bugs to worry about, so there's really no reason to even put it up, and it just gives you a little more space in there. So this is the footprint, and I'd use it anyway, even in the summer when there are bugs, and I'm putting the inner tent up just to protect it because the floor is pretty thin on the SL series. And then this is just kind of my junk drawer bag. I hate the phrase ditty bag. I hear people say ditty bag, and now I'm saying it and I don't like it. It's like the word moist. I don't like the word, so I don't. So it's a junk drawer bag. It's got everything from fire starter, Band-Aids, ointment, a tiny little pocket knife, toothbrush, toothpaste, my headlamps in here, extra batteries. It's a junk drawer bag. I don't want it all floating around in here, so I keep it in here, and it's in a little Z-Packs stuff sack. Stupid expensive. I think this was like $25 or something dumb. You could use a Ziploc bag. I had a gift card. I bought some stuff sacks. This is probably one of 2 stuff sacks I actually use. So anyway, that's what's in that. That's everything in that front mesh pouch. So on the ground, I've got my Thermarest Z-Lite sleeping pad. I bring it in the wintertime. Normally I'll bring like a 2 or 3 piece section as a sit pad. In the wintertime I bring a full one, or I guess it's 3/4 because I cut part of it off. Just to put under my sleeping pad, or use it for this to spread stuff out so it's not in the dirt. but use it in conjunction with my sleeping pad that's in here just to add a little bit more warmth. And then I'm sitting in my REI Flex Lite Air chair. Best piece of camping equipment you could ever buy. I feel like I sound like some sort of REI fanboy. I don't work for REI. I don't get anything for using REI gear. I just like a lot of their gear. It's actually really good stuff, and this chair is fantastic. So anyway, and that would normally be on the other one of my other side pockets. Oh, that I didn't even get into because I already had the chair out, but I've also got my tripod all sitting there, and then a saw in one side pocket, and then my little Mora knife in the other. So under the lid, it's just got, this pack has a normal roll top like a lot of the ultralight packs, so you can take the lid off and then just have this, which is kind of nice, but it helps keep the water out of everything. So right on the top, I'll put my tent, because to me, that's one of the first things I want to be able to get out. The cord's attached. It's one of the first things I want to be able to get out and set up. So this is the other stuff sack that I have from Z-Packs. It's just a medium one. It's just a little more compact, so I put my tent in it. But this is the Quarter Dome SL1 tent body and the Rainfly. I just keep that all right on the top. And then on top, this is part of my camp layering, or I guess if I got really cold while I was hiking, I could throw it on instead. Just one of the Melanzana microgrid hoodies. I love this thing. It goes pretty much on every single trip with me. In the summertime, it's my only extra insulation. 3-season, it's always in my pack. It's just, it's super comfortable to hike in. It's lightweight, but it's really warm for the weight that it is. It's breathable because it's a grid stop as well. So the one I'm wearing that I'm hiking in now is thinner and it's tighter fitting. So for layering, for hiking, it's pretty good and it dries out quick. If this got really damp from sweat, it's gonna take longer to dry out because it's thicker. But for just lounging around for the warmth, I love this thing. It's got the front kangaroo pocket. The hood on these things is fantastic. It goes way up over your head, and it's got kind of a built-in balaclava with it too. Let's see. It's just the food bag, so it's a Z-Packs. I think it's technically the smaller food bag. They have a big one and a small one. This is the small one. I can fit 4 days worth of food, 5 days worth of food in here if I put my snacks other places. It's a thicker Cuban fiber material. I've had it for 3 years now, and no wear whatsoever on it, so it works. And then, so in the winter time, I bring my Jetboil. So this is folding collapsible mug. Let's get that out of the way. This is the Jetboil Minimo stove. So for me, when it's cold, yeah, if I was gonna do a lot of camping below, the low teens, single digits, below zero, I'd invest in a white gas stove. It doesn't get that cold that much out here, and if it does, it's usually at a time when I can't go backpacking anyway. So this has always worked for me. Yeah, you run the risk of these fuel cans kind of freezing up and not working very well, but I just, at the end of the night, I actually will put it in one of my socks that I hiked in, and then I will throw it in my sleeping bag, and that keeps it warm enough that in the morning it's perfectly fine. But the reason I'll bring this versus my smaller, more ultralight cook system that I'll use the rest of the time is it does a better job with this heat ring of retaining the heat. It boils water quicker even when it's cold. It blocks the wind, and then this is insulated. So when it's real cold like this, I know I brought the cup, but I would probably make my first cup of coffee and just keep it in here because it stays insulated. And then I don't have to worry about my coffee getting cold before I can ever hope to drink it all. So, but inside, it keeps it all. Inside is the burner, the pot stand, or the stand for the fuel can, so it stays level, and a lighter and a little towel. So it all stays in there. And then after that, we get down to everything that I want to keep dry. So the pack says it's water resistant. I think every backpack manufacturer says their pack is water resistant. Hang on, I put my hood up. My head's getting cold. It's hard to do with gloves on too. We're not gonna fiddle with that. They say their packs are water resistant. I've had Cuben fiber packs too, that even after days of getting wet, stuff still can get water on it, in it. Stuff can still get wet on the inside from water getting in it. And when you start talking about down sleeping bags, especially here we are, it's 14 degrees now and gonna get down in the single digits. The last thing you want is your down and your sleeping clothes and all of your stuff like that to be remotely damp. You don't want it. So I line every pack of mine with a trash compactor bag. I've used the same trash compactor bag for 4 years. Not a single hole. It kind of, I don't know how to describe the smell because it was vanilla scented. I got that accidentally. And it's now kind of taken on a vanilla trail musk scent. So that's a little off-putting, but I just kind of want to see how long it'll last. So first thing in here, my pillow, little inflatable Trekology pillow. Should probably use one of the like down-filled pillows in wintertime, but I don't have one, and I've used this. I don't have any problems. Now we're getting into a lot of the clothing. Look, you got a lot more layers this time of year when it's this cold. Sleeping pad. So wintertime, sleeping pad is the Thermarest Neo Air X Therm. Look, if it's gonna be below 25, this is the best winter sleeping pad on the market. I don't think there's a better one when you talk about the warmth that you get for the packability. And this is the long wide, and it's smaller than a football packed down. So it's a 6.9, 6.5, 6.9. I'll put it on the screen. R value, just how warm it keeps you. Most 3-season pads are 3.5, maybe 4. I think my Nemo Tensor insulated is around a 4, and I'll use that most of the whole year until it's gonna be in that mid-20s. Then I'll switch to this. You pair this with the Z-Lite, and this probably gets you down to -10 or as low as you want to go. This will get you there, but super comfortable pad. Now we're getting into the layers. So this, when it's going to be in the teens, like most of the time you're hanging out around camp, or single digits, you need a serious insulated jacket, because just sitting here, you get cold. So this is the Mountain Hardwear Kelvinator down jacket. I'm pretty sure it's discontinued. I imagine they have a different one, but this is more of a serious wintertime down parka, not just a regular down jacket. Again, if it's going to be consistently, the temperatures at camp are going to be in the 20s. Not really any colder than that. I can get away with this clothing system and layering system and my Arc'teryx Cerium down jacket, just your standard 3-season down jacket. But if it's gonna get cold, this thing is amazing, which actually I may put this on here shortly. Actually, I'm gonna do it right now. There. So through the magic of camera and video editing, I've gotten warmer, so I put the rain pants on. I've told you, it's cold out here. It's I just wiped ice out of my beard from right under my nose. Oh, it's cold. So put my rain pants on to help hold in a little bit more heat. Took my thin little grid stop fleece and my Frog Togs jacket out there over here. That's why I'm pointing over here. Took those off and put my Melanzana on and put the Kelvinator coat on. And now I'm good. So let's get back to this. Because now we're getting into more this is when I'd get to camp and things I'd switch out. So these are some really thick expedition weight polyester fleece lined long underwear pants. So I would take the mid-weight ones off. This is part of that. Get to camp, get all the camp chores done. You don't want to sweat in the clothes you're going to sit around in and sleep in. I would take those off, take the hiking pants off, put these on, and these, I just got these at, I think it's Sportsman's Warehouse is a place around here. They were $30 instead of like some Under Armour ones or some name brand ones, and they're great. So I put those on, and then let's see, these are probably the best Amazon find I've ever gotten. So these are some, I think they're technically for like biking. Well, yeah, because they're literally from a company called InBike. But I was just searching thermal weight pants on Amazon and found these, and they're fleece lined, and they're actually a soft shell material on the outside. So they're soft shell pants that are insulated. And if you try to find some of these from a name brand outdoor store, they're hundreds of dollars, and I got these for $40. Now they're from Amazon, so they're Chinese, and I think the size technically is 3X. For reference, I wear large, extra large for most everything, but sizing is weird. But they're soft shell, so the wind is completely cut out. They're super warm, especially paired with some other, this is, we're talking insulation for single digits, 0 degrees. So I wouldn't normally use both of these, but when you're talking that cold, you do. Super warm, and then at the knees, they even have like a little bit of a breathable part, so you don't get too hot because they are for biking. But these are awesome. I don't know if you can still get them anymore, but they're fantastic. I've hiked in them too when it's really cold. And they work well for that too because of the ventilation. You get a little warm, but they do work. So that's what I would put on when I get to camp, and then as a last line of defense, I have the rain pants, but then I have my sweaty pants that are damp off, because that stuff, it's not going to dry when it's this cold, and it's just going to make you even more cold. You don't want that. Let's see. And then I should have, yep. So the insulating base layer shirt I would change to is a Under Armour. I got it from a friend. An Under Armour Cold Gear turtleneck shirt. So I would take off that thin black undershirt base layer, take it off because it'll be sweaty. Put this on, and then I'd put the Smart Wool shirt back on over the top of it, because realistically, the base layer's done its job, wicked moisture away from my skin. If it gets into the wool, it's still gonna keep me warm, and it's not against my skin. So if it got really wet, I wouldn't put it back on, but in most cases, it's still enough to keep me warm. So I would have this, my Smart Wool pullover, and then the Melanzana, and then this. If that's not enough insulation, I probably have no business being outside. I would single digits, 0, even slightly below 0, perfectly fine, even just sitting around. And then the last thing I have in here, I have 2 pairs of Smart Wool socks. I'm not going to drag the rest of this out. 2 pairs of Smart Wool socks, a thinner pair, and then a really thick pair. So I would take these socks off and then put the thin pair on as almost like a liner, and then the heavyweight wool socks on over the top, and that's enough for me. And buried down in here, I'm not gonna pull it out because I don't want to just throw it in the dirt. I have it's a Hammock Gear Econ Series 0 degree top quilt, and it's the long wide version. So sleep systems, temperature ratings, layering systems, you just kind of got to get out and try it and see what works for you. So that's it. That's everything I would use. I'm probably going to fire up the Jetboil and make a cup of coffee and try to warm up. maybe eat a little something, and that's probably about it. So hopefully, if you watch this, you got something out of it. If anything, maybe it was entertaining. And keep an eye out for more videos.